Welcome to Unveiling Mythical Legends. Have you ever thought that maybe we're not truly living, breathing human beings at all, but just a piece of running code, perhaps even an outdated program? Before the show begins, don't forget to hit subscribe, like, and turn on the notification bell so you won't miss any of our episodes.
Haha, don't rush to argue, and don't think I'm trying to insult you. Let's slowly look at a scene first. You open your eyes in the morning, and your first reaction isn't to take a deep breath or feel the presence of your body. Instead, you instinctively let out a sigh. Then your brain, like it's automatically reading from a hard drive, loads up yesterday's worries, your son's mortgage, your daughter-in-law's expression, and that faint ache in your lower back, all within a fraction of a second.
Wow, that fast. I didn't even notice it myself.
Exactly. Then you wash your face, brush your teeth, boil water, your movements so practiced it's almost heartbreaking. Even the line you used to complain about your spouse is exactly the same as it was 10 years ago. If there were a programmer standing behind you at that moment, they would point at you and say, "Look, this piece of code is running its loop again, and it hasn't even thrown a single error."
And now you're starting to scare me. Am I really running like a machine?
You see, we always mock artificial intelligence for being rigid, for only following instructions. But ironically, our own lives might just be a suffering program that has never been updated. The reasons you get angry today were actually written 20 years ago. You think you're thinking, but in reality you're just reacting automatically. You think you're choosing, but in fact you're merely executing habits.
So you're saying that all my emotions are actually prearranged by some program?
More or less. If you deconstruct your consciousness, you might find it filled with lines of code like, if others don't listen to me, I must get angry. If my body feels even slightly uncomfortable, I must become anxious. If my child doesn't meet my expectations, then my whole life has been a failure. How is that living? That's clearly just a component moving along an assembly line.
Sounds kind of absurd. We created computers to make them think like humans, yet we ourselves are living more and more like computers.
Exactly. There's a famous Zen koan about a monk named Mazu Dawi. He meditated every day, determined to become a Buddha. Seeing how attached he was to this goal, his teacher, Nanyue Huairong, picked up a brick and began polishing it in front of him. Mazu asked, "Master, what are you doing?" The teacher replied, "I'm polishing this brick to make it into a mirror." Mazu laughed and said, "How could polishing a brick possibly turn it into a mirror?" The teacher then asked him in return, "If polishing a brick cannot make it into a mirror, how can sitting there every day make you into a Buddha?"
So the master was basically slapping Mazu awake, right?
Exactly. That line is like a slap across the face of everyone running on autopilot, repeating the same anxieties every single day. You keep repeating the same anger and the same need for control, yet you expect happiness and liberation. Isn't that just like trying to polish a brick into a mirror? If the logic inside you doesn't change, then even if you change your environment, change your daughter-in-law, or change your house, the result will still be the same. Because your system's core kernel is set to suffering mode.
Wow. So I'd probably complain even in heaven?
Yes. Even if you were sent to heaven, you might complain that the clouds aren't white enough, or grumble that the angels are shedding feathers. You see, we've built an infinite loop into our lives. A classic example is the cycle of middle-aged and elderly parents worrying about their children. You exhaust yourself out of love, the child feels suffocated and tries to escape, you feel hurt and angry, so you worry even more. This program locks you in tightly. Every step is filled with a sense of sacrifice, and also filled with negative energy. You think you're giving, but in reality, you're just feeding your own attachment.
Oh my goodness, I've killed my old enemies 10,000 times in my head every day, and all I get out of it is a stomachache or a headache.
Exactly. In reality, who's the real victim? It's you. In Buddhist teaching there's a saying, the past mind cannot be grasped, the present mind cannot be grasped, the future mind cannot be grasped. In modern terms, that means clearing your cache. But what we're best at is treating all our junk files like treasures, carrying yesterday's anger into today, bringing the fire from morning into noon. Your life is like a system that's been running for 60 years, filled with conflicts, errors, drivers, and patches. No wonder you're exhausted. No wonder life feels so draining.
Then what should we do? Can this cycle ever really stop?
It can. True cultivation or awakening isn't about learning some profound, esoteric knowledge, it's about interrupting this inertia. At the very moment the program is about to run, you step out and say to yourself, hey, error code detected. Manual intervention required. For example, when you're about to complain angrily that the dishes weren't washed properly, can you pause for 1 second and realize that the dirty dishes are just a physical phenomenon, and that your anger is simply the program's response? You can choose not to run that segment of code. You can choose to make a cup of tea instead, or step onto the balcony and look at the flowers. The moment you become aware that you're executing a program, the program loses its power, because a program operates unconsciously, while awareness is conscious.
Wow, so simply being aware is the same as turning off the automatic program?
Exactly. Where light shines in, darkness can no longer pretend to be mysterious. You see, the people and situations that cause you pain are often just empty boats. Zhuangzi once told a story: when you're crossing a river by boat and another boat crashes into you, you might start shouting in anger. But when you realize the boat is empty, your anger instantly disappears, because the anger program requires a target. Without a target, it can't run. In real life, most of the things that cause you suffering are, in fact, empty boats.
Ha ha ha, so our lives could actually be a bit lighter, but we insist on labeling everything, turning it into deadlocked programs?
Exactly. If you treat life like a flowing movie instead of a task that must be completed, you'll realize that many deadlocks are ones you've uploaded yourself. Life is pretty brutal. If you don't reboot the system, you get carried along by the old program, sliding step by step into worries. You think you've lived 30,000 days, but in reality you've only lived one day, repeated 30,000 times, just like a washing machine running 24/7.
Honestly, I still feel like I'm being dragged along by the old programs. How can I fully reboot?
Well, there's no magical button for a complete reboot, but there is a key principle: awareness. At every moment, even if it's just a single second, you pause and tell yourself, wait, are my emotions and reactions the program, or am I truly myself? That 1 second may seem insignificant, but it's the exact moment where the old system is paused and manual intervention takes place.
1 second. Can something that short really make a difference?
Yes. You might not believe it, but a single second of awareness is like quarantining a virus in a sandbox. If you do this a few times every day, gradually the program stops running automatically, and you start gaining the power to choose. For example, when you're about to complain about your child's behavior, first take a deep breath, observe the thought, and then tell yourself, okay, this is just the program's reaction, I don't have to execute it. Make yourself a cup of tea, look at the flowers, the program loses its power, and you are free.
This sounds like a form of practice. I'll need to remind myself every day.
Exactly, that's practice. But practice doesn't have to happen in the mountains, nor do you need to meditate for 8 hours. It can happen right in your daily life. Washing dishes, walking, drinking tea, watching the scenery, every moment is an opportunity to reboot. You start shifting your attention from I must to I am here.
So does that mean the burdens I felt in life were actually ones I put on myself?
Exactly. Many of the things that cause you suffering are, at their core, just manifestations of impermanence, combinations of conditions. Your child ignoring you, your partner being uncooperative, your health being less than ideal, these are just circumstances. It's only when you insist on labeling them as should be that you trap yourself in a deadlocked cycle.
So, letting go of the labels can free me?
Pretty much. Here's another metaphor: if you try to grasp a handful of water, the tighter you squeeze, the faster it slips away. Only when you open your hand can you truly hold the entire river. Your desire to control your children, your life, your emotions, that's just you clinging to that handful of water. Let go, and you can genuinely experience freedom.
Wow. So freedom isn't about doing whatever you want, but being able to choose not to do something when you don't want to?
Exactly. True freedom is having mastery over your own consciousness. You can choose not to get angry, not to worry, not to be hijacked by old programs. Once you gain this ability, you transcend the automatic processes and become the master of your own life.
So where should I start?
Start with your breath. Take a deep inhale, feel the air filling your lungs, feel your body existing. In this moment, there are no safeguards, no distractions, no grievances, you simply exist. Next time that deadlocked program wants to run, pause and ask yourself, do I want to remain a slave to this code, or do I want to be the one writing it? This is the key to rebooting.
It feels like everything is in my hands, yet it's so effortless.
Exactly. You'll realize that life never really abandoned you, it's always quietly flowing. It's just that your mind hasn't dusted itself off in a long time. Once you're willing to clear and reboot, you'll see that the sunlight has always been there, you were just busy running that lesson called worry in the dark backstage.
Friends, if you found this conversation inspiring, remember to like, subscribe, and share. Spread this awareness and freedom to those who need it. Life is a continuous reboot. May we all find our own peace and light within our personal microcosms.
Starting today, learn to observe yourself, learn to let go, and learn to live freely.